Yo! It's time to actually have an episode of Twit. Even if it is another sort of monthly catch-up do. 3 figures, count 'em 3. And they're all rather nice. I'm going to go up in scale of sort of, how I described in the last video, that I filmed 5 minutes ago. Or more like half an hour ago because it's quite long. I'm going to go up in scale of belteriness, beltitude. How much of a belter they are. Does anyone even use that word anymore? Let's start off with, I'm going to remove part of this so you can actually see what you're looking at, not just a bunch of guff. Generations Deluxe Full of Sabatron Sideswipe. I've now got all of, apart from the Generations Wreckers that have just come out, all of the Deluxe Fall of Cybertron stuff. And don't get pedantic and start counting all the numerous reprints of Bruticus, because no, I don't have any of those. All of your single packed, you know, wave by wave, Deluxe Fall of Cybertron stuff is now mine. That actually sounds a bit, oh dear, I've bought all of it, have I? Oh. But anyway, Sideswipe is a nice red car. It's just a remold of Jazz, really heavy because of course this doesn't look anything like Jazz. It is of my mind that this is the best vehicle mode in both of the Cybertron games. In the first one I used it was yellow and red until the Prime Hotshot came out, and then it was a blue and red version of this that obviously just turned into a blue and red Sideswipe body as a Hotshot to play on multiplayer. And this was just, it's such a good looking Cybertronian car mode, all the pointy bits at the back and sort of pointy stuff at the front, and it looks really cool, and it is good to have a plastic representation of that. I'd sort of love to get another and paint it in the colours of the body that I used so much in the game, but probably seeing why that's not such a good idea when you get to the robot mode. Anyway, this mode is nice. I picked this guy up for $14.99, which is the best price I've ever seen it at. I mean, yeah, there's some sites online that have got it for that much, but I'd have to pay postage on top of that. So when I saw it for that much in Comic Shop in Canterbury, I was like, hell yeah! I mean, if I'd known they'd had them in there, this wave in there for that long, then I might not have spent so much on air raid or anything like that. But slight buyer's regret later. Let's look at this thing. It's nice. It comes with a massive path blast. I had to take it off to show you the car because look at that. The gun is almost as big as the car. This is massive. It's another giant Fall of Cybertron gun. I wish wasn't quite so giant. And it gets even bigger with the extended barrel. For some reason the chamber rotates. I mean, that's nice, but I'd have liked some sort of gearing. Maybe you turn that and then that gets longer. I don't know. It's nice. It moves like the gun does in the game because it sort of does that thing to reload, doesn't it? Or you know, you can just sort of simulate the sort of recoil thing. I don't know. It's massive. It only looks good on Voyager figures, and Sideswipe, his arms are just too weedy to actually hold it. So that's a slight disappointment. You get the best gun and the best car in the game together, and then when you put them together as the best gun and the robot, which that car is, it just doesn't go. Just doesn't. For a time I considered sparing your fate of actually looking at this thing in robot mode, but it has to be done, and I'm sorry that I have to include this picture and give you nightmares. Yes, that is what Sideswipe's face looks like in, you know, a resolution where you can actually see what it looks like. It might be the worst head sculpt I've seen in a long time. I think it's the eyes. The cold, dead, black, forever staring eyes. I mean, on the box, on the back, they're actually blue. It looks like he might have light piping, but he so doesn't. I mean, I guess the outside of his head is a sort of sideswipey helmet affair. That looks good. It's the face inside. It's like some sort of Uncanny Valley stuff going on here, because it's just too human. I mean, it's like they've sort of sculpted in cheeks and stuff, and I think maybe the fact that you can see a bit of his forehead, that, you know, it's like the helmet is here and you've got a bit of his forehead and you've got his eyes. I'd rather have the top of the helmet and then his eyes and his nose. and then he's sort of, I don't know, he's got his lips sculpted in, and I don't know if he's meant to be smiling or looking determined. He looks way too happy, and just, I don't like it. It is unsettling, and it doesn't look good, and you try and get him in a cool sort of badass pose with his massive gun, and he just keeps going, he's basically just got some sort of mega derp happy face. It's not good. But I guess you can sort of enjoy the other details that you've got going on this robot mode. He's got a massive chest, but then when does Sideswipe not? And, you know, he's got white thighs there. You know, the colours are good on this robot mode. The proportions probably aren't, because, you know, this being a Jazz mould, his legs are just too small and thin, and his arms are massive at the forearms, and I really, really wish that they'd just made a Sideswipe body and not just remoulded Jazz, because this is just wrong to that game model. The chest isn't made out of the front of the car, even though it is on like every other G1E Sideswipe. He hasn't got wheels on his forearms, they're on his shoulders, and he hasn't got wheels in his feet. He hasn't got any wheels on his legs at all in the game, or in his back. The Jazz figure wasn't that good, but at least it was made to be Jazz. So I guess I'm pretty glad this is the last Fall of Cybertron Deluxe I picked up, because if it'd been the first, I think it'd put me off the whole line. It's not the best, it isn't really that good, but it's still nice because it's just a nice new Fall of Cybertron figure. And, you know, with the money you spend, you get a massive gun to give to your other bots, and have Grimlock have a big gun, or, you know, give the gun that Optimus should have to Optimus. And, you know, well, do I even have to show you what it will look like on Sideswipe? It's too big, his arms are too weak, even his hands are too weak. It doesn't stay in the groove for the sort of 5mm hole in his hand properly, and even with all the ratcheting on his elbow, it will just sag. And this elbow has become really loose because, of course, you can only put it in his right hand. Size abound with this figure, but I'm still quite happy with it because it's just, you know, another nice new game dude. And I really like these Cybertronian designs, and while I wish it was better, I'm still not really regretting paying the money for it. I've got all of them now, so it's like, have a party. Let's stop talking about that now and move on, because I have a feeling I've spent too long waffling on about Sideswipe. Same day I got him, I went to Chatham Toys R Us and decided to spend more money, even though I'd already spent 15 quid on him, simply because I've got no idea when I'm going to be able to get to a Toys R Us again. So I thought I'd pick up the Wave 2 figure that I wanted to get from Beast Hunters that they have there. And I've got a Smokescreen, and yes, I mentioned him in the last video and sort of did this little comparison with the Legion one without actually showing you this. Might get into a bit of a gush fest here. This is really nice. Really, this is such a winner of a figure. I mean, let's start off looking at this gorgeous car mode. Yeah, I might have said the Legion one looks a bit better. In some ways it does. It looks sort of chunkier, squarer. This is a bit more fluid and curvy, and I'm not sure it looks quite like that at the front. And of course it's not shiny, it's all just matte sort of white. And you've got the blue stripes. And a massive spoiler and some red on there, and the numbers on the side that are in a completely different font that just look like, I don't know, Arial black. And you don't have the sort of checkerboard pattern on here either, and so the vehicle mode, while it's stunningly nice because it's such a nice low car, and somehow these back wheels seem massive because they're like as thick as the car itself, it just looks so good. It is just nice, and you can forgive all of the minor little detail weirderies that are going on, like, you know, there's no tail lights, but there's red on the sides of the spoilers. All it took was to put a little tiny bit of red on there and there. I think those are their tail lights. I don't think these big bits are. I think they're like vents. Oh, I can't tell. It's a nice car. Let's leave it at that. I mean, look at it. You don't need me to tell you. For the sake of making this video slightly more expedient, I don't think I'm going to transform him. And that's something, you know, a statement in itself. It's quite a fiddly transformation on this guy, but I like it. It feels so good to have a figure that's like that again. Actually feels slightly complex, you know, getting some interesting good engineering going on here. that isn't necessarily just clever and simple. It is, you know, slightly complex, and you do have to pack in everything at the top here because all of these arms, it all folds up and you've got to waggle things around. It can be a bit difficult, but I really like it because it feels like a movie toy. It's like a good return to when things were properly engineered nicely, and just they could go a bit mental and say, yeah, look what we can do with transforming things. Yeah, it's not as intuitive as the rest of the Prime figures. You know, it will be difficult for a child to manage the first couple of goes, but I don't care, because I can appreciate, you know, what has gone into this design wise, and it ticks all the boxes to have a figure that is as complex as this again, because starting to feel like all of the figures that we've been getting recently, Prime and Fall of Cybertron and all of that, maybe even back to Dark of the Moon, just a bit too simple, and I would have liked something that's a bit more interesting and slightly challenging, and this guy offers that. So if you're not into quite complex transformations, I'm afraid you're going to have to skip on this guy, because sometimes it is a bit like, why won't you? But other times it's just really nice, and I mean, when you're left with a car that looks like this, I think it's worth the hassle to get it from robot to car. It's safe to say it's a little bit easy doing the other way round. His robot mode looks quite nice. I do rather like it. It's really nicely articulated. It's got some nice big joints like on his knees. His arms do feel a bit sort of scrawny and fiddly because there's a lot of joints up in there, and they've given him ratcheted elbows. Why did they give him ratcheted elbows? Blah blah blah. You know, it's a smokescreen figure that's made to be smokescreen, so you can completely forget about that knockout repaint. One thing about his bot mode though, I guess his legs are a bit too big. It's like he's got really big feet and, I don't know, clown shoe thing going on. But he does sort of look like that in the show. I guess it's forgivable. He's just got slightly odd proportions because his bot mode ends up being quite wide and not very deep. Of course he comes with, you know, loads of stuff like all these Beast Hunters figures do. So he's just got a nice normal missile launcher. Holds it in his hand, it shoots a missile, and you can put this silly rubbery thing on there to make it like a net, and somehow you can bend it so it actually is a net, and I don't know, I don't like it, so it lives in a box. The same as the big rubbery car mask that it comes with. I mean, I guess it's good that all the spiky bits are removable, so you've got the option to make him look all Mad Max, but why is it all rubbery and funny? But it's nice and shiny and blue. That lives in a box too. Are you surprised? So there we go. Smokescreen is another sort of must-have. As long as you've got some space in the box to chuck the rubbery bits, I guess. Now onto the true must-have that I've encountered in the Beast Hunters line. Oh, mammy, it's time to bring in the beef. Oh, did you hear that? It's got some good click going on here, boy. I've got a new Optimus Prime, and he's gigantic and beeftacular. I love this thing. Would you have expected anything else? It's massive. It's beefy. There aren't really any hollow bits, you know? I mean, I guess inside his legs and his arms it is hollow, but you can't see any hollow bits. He's all filled out and it's got proper click. I mean, only on a couple of weird joints. I would have liked more click in more places, because his hips are a bit loose and all the swivels are a bit loose. So ensuring that he actually stands there in a cool pose can be a bit difficult. And if you do splay his legs wide enough, he will just sort of go a bit knock-kneed and fall over. But seriously, those are the only gripes I have about this thing. It's awesome. I don't care that all the see-through stuff is green. It's a nice sort of different thing, and it looks cool. Star Saber is massive, and of course it should have been blue, and that is a bit of a shame. I wouldn't have really called Optimus a green lightsaber guy, but there you go. It's just a giant sword, and I've got to admit there's another gripe here. It doesn't really go very far into his hand. It's got a really nice long handle, as if you could sort of double hand it, but it only goes that far into his hand. His hands seem really tight, or maybe the end of that is just a bit too big. I don't know. But look, it's a nice big Star Saber. And you can go and give that to the RID Optimus. Yes, big swords for everyone. Of course, the other thing that comes with are these odd jet engine missile launchers. Why do these bits open? Can someone tell me? I don't understand, because then you've got this sort of, I don't know, odd slight crossbow looking thing going on when you do that. I don't really get these, but they're not that offensive. The only thing I don't like is when you go to push them into his insanely tight hands, you push the bit where the trigger is and invariably shoot the missile somewhere across the room. That seems like that's a bit of a design flaw. But of course, if you don't like them as guns, you can just stick them. I mean, I've got one on his back there. You can stick them down here, and they can be jet engines because they've got wings. It's like the first Optimus with a jetpack that I've got properly since like Cybertron Optimus, and there are a lot of lovely similarities between this and that. Oh, it's lovely. It's so Unicron Trilogy. It's just insane, and I love it. He's got big wings, and they're a bit malleable in the plastic they're made out of. Considering that these sort of tab everything in vehicle mode, they shouldn't really be so bendy. It doesn't feel good doing that. But when really are you gonna have him in vehicle mode when his robot mode looks this good and the vehicle mode is just arms and legs behind the front of a truck? I'm not saying it's bad, it's actually quite good. It is huge and solid, and it makes an odd rumbling noise when you roll it because of the way that his wheels are all this sort of slightly soft plastic. But really, of course, the main event is this just gigantic robot. It's so over the top and roided out. I can't get enough of it, and I can't put this guy down because it's like, this is the Optimus I've been waiting for years, and they've all been a bit skinny, and Optimus should be like the beefy powerhouse of the team, not the sort of tall athletic guy. He needs to be the quarterback, and that's what this is, with the massive huge forearms with the nice shiny silver bits and punchy fists, not conversational hands. I love it. I could go on, you know. I don't really like the way that he hasn't got a faceplate. I've got to say that, but the face is still good. He looks all like determined, like, I'm gonna punch you! He's seriously ready to bring some pain to some dragons, and it's a bit of a shame that I still don't want any of them. So he's just gonna have to sort of, you know, punch Megatron repeatedly, who is now slightly smaller than him. But seriously guys, just get this thing, just buy it, just get it. It's so good. It's really basic in some ways because there isn't a lot of transforming going on. The arms and legs basically do nothing. But it's good, it's huge, it's a lovely big Voyager, and he comes with tons of stuff. Oh, I could go on. But I'm just going to stop now and point out that I like this shelf behind the back of his head, which is reminiscent of Cybertron Optimus Prime's big jetpack backpack thing. Just so nice. And I'm so happy that I got this for under shop RRP thanks to the Kapow Toys sale that was on last week or so. Oh yes. This is the most satisfying figure I've had in a good while, and I think that's a good last word to have on this video. I don't know when I'll next be in front of the camera showing you off some stuff, because now I've basically got all the Autobots that I wanted from Beast Hunters, and I don't really want any of the Predacons, so I'm now in the position of there aren't really many Transformers out there I want to buy. Cyberverse stuff is, you know, still out there beckoning me forth to spend small amounts of money. But apart from that, there's not really anything that's going to be going on. Maybe one day when Toys R Us gets some good stuff in, like Generation stuff that's new, I'll be excited. But till then it's just sort of, I've got everything I want to get from shops now, and that's sort of really quick because Beast Hunters has been around for all of like a month. Probably not even that. Oh. So I guess I'll see you when I see ya, and look out for my Unicron review that's forthcoming that I've still got to do. Toodle pip.